Okay, everyone, I'm Assemblyman Mark Johns. There's a lot of talk about what's going to be on the ballot this November 7th. There's going to be on the back side of your ballot a constitutional convention vote. Now, you can vote yes or no on the back of that ballot. A constitutional convention vote comes up every 20 years. We haven't had a yes vote in 60 years. My feeling is that if we're going to have a constitutional convention and go to all that expense, why don't we take our last 3 weeks in Albany to put up a couple pieces of legislation that would avoid having to have a constitutional convention? Now, the two pieces of legislation I want to talk about is the SOL Act and the FDR bill. Now, you need to understand a couple of things about Albany, the way it works. In the New York State Assembly, we author more bills than the U.S. House of Representatives. We vote on less than 10% of those bills. The fact is that it's hard to get a bill to the floor, and we shouldn't have to be beholden to the big money and the party bosses to get a bill up that people want, like term limits and some other reforms that we need in New York State. So the first bill I'd like to bring up is the SOL Act. SOLE stands for Single Opportunity to Legislate Equally. It allows every member of the Senate and the Assembly, whether you're a majority or minority member, to bring one bill up to the floor every 2 years, one bill every term. That would allow any stagnation and dysfunction down in Albany to be set aside, and we would be able to vote on bills that people back home would like to see us voting on and passing. The second bill, I call it the FDR bill. It's a Fairness and Democratic Reform Act. And what that does is says at the end of session, when session is over, like it will be in 3 weeks, the public, the voters of New York State, can take any of our bills, get at least 50,000 signatures statewide, and then put that bill on the ballot for the upcoming general election. That would allow us to bypass any dysfunction there is in Albany and allow grassroots people to bring our bills, not their bills, our bills, of which 90% don't come up for a vote, bring them up and put it on the next general election ballot.
A number of people feel it's worthwhile.
Right.
That just never even makes it to the floor.
You're exactly right. All the polls show that at least 80% of the people in this state want 12-year term limits. Now, that doesn't stop you from running from the Assembly, then running for the Senate, running for all number of other positions, but it puts a 12-year term limit, and it doesn't start until we pass the bill. So even if you've been there 10, 20, 30, 40 years, the fact is when term limits goes in, that's what's going to happen. It's a reasonable bill. It's backed by over 80% in the polls. 80% of the New York State people want this, but yet it never comes up to the floor in either house for a vote. Things like that, redistricting reform, getting rid of gerrymandered districts, real campaign finance reform, a unicameral legislature which would save $150 million a year. There's a number of things we could be doing. We could be doing 2-year budget cycles, which would save about $10 million a year. We'd only have to be there for 3 months in the second year. These are all common sense ideas that we have bills for down in the New York State Assembly and Senate, but for some reason they don't come up for a vote. So if the SOL Act doesn't give everybody a single opportunity to bring one of these bills to the floor for a vote, then let's allow the people. We always say we represent the people. We're the House of the people. We're for the people. Let's allow the voters and the people in New York State to get signatures and bring these stagnating bills onto the ballot for ballot access and let everybody vote on them. Thank you very much.